We are talking about one of my favorite topics, how to stay motivated when you have a lot of weight to lose. And I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I have quite a bit of experience, both personal and professional, working through 60-ish pounds of weight loss myself and coaching women. In our Balance365 coaching community, we host I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, we host a call every month called Women in Larger Bodies that is exclusively for women in larger bodies. And a topic that comes up oftentimes is how to stay motivated when you've got 60, 70, 80, 100 plus pounds to lose. It can feel like kind of like, oh my God, how am I ever going to do this? Right?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to talk about this topic because I don't want people to feel discouraged or overwhelmed or not even try because they think they can't do it. And I'm going to share some of my best words of wisdom, strategies, suggestions for helping people lose the weight, but also keep it off. And I think that's something that makes my experience and a lot of our members' experiences actually like a unique experience in the weight loss world, is that we haven't just lost the weight, we've also kept it off.
Yeah, I mean, who cares if you've lost weight before? The reality is the majority of people are losing and regaining weight, right? So the unique stories are the people who are experiencing fat loss, and then keeping that weight off roughly, right? We all fluctuate here and there. It's so rare that there's like a big national study in the States that follows people who have lost large amounts of weight and kept it off, because scientists are really trying to figure out what is the secret sauce here.
Yeah. And I'm gonna share I'm gonna full disclosure, spoiler alert. Some of the suggestions that I have in this show today is maybe kind of cliche advice, but I've listen to the whole thing because I think I've added my own special take on an updated version or a more helpful version of some more traditional advice about like pursuing long-term goals, right? And I also want to say before I get into this, if you want the results like I've had, like our members have, like you're hearing this, you're like, yes, sign me up. This is exactly what I need. You need to get on our wait list. Balance365.com/waitlist. Put your name. It's obligation free. There's no pressure to join, but you'll be the first to know when our doors open, and you'll save some money.
Yeah.
So you can climb this mountain, which is a great segue into my outline here. It doesn't have to be something that you're standing at the foot of a mountain looking at the rest of your life. You can climb it. You can get over it and get on with your life.
Yeah. And that's what I think I just want to pause. This can be behind you, right? So this can be a struggle that's behind you. It's a struggle that's behind me. And sometimes it's wild for me to sit back and reflect on how much my weight, food, fitness, like how much space that took up in my head and my life at all times, where now I rarely think about it. And I know that you have a very similar point of view.
Yeah. And in fact, we've talked about this before, talking about how I eat, how I move, how I think about my body on social media actually takes a lot of effort for me because I don't think about it on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Like I'm just living my life. It is not the front runner, the priority that it used to be for many, many years.
Yeah, I know on the marketing side of our company, I'm often coming to Annie and trying to, come up with a piece of content or whatever. And I'm like, I'll literally say to her, hey, describe to me, like in your own words, what it was like when you were, at your heaviest, blah, blah, blah. And she really has to think about it.
Yeah.
She really has to think about it. Yeah.
I do. It's just such a foreign experience to me now, which is great. And I want that for everyone.
Yeah.
If that's something they're interested in. So first things first, we need to kind of have a level set here about managing your expectations, because whatever advice you get, whatever advice I offer, whatever wisdom Jen offers, it's all going to fall flat if you are not basing this experience on reasonable expectations, right? And I think we can break this down into kind of three subcategories. There's, first of all, expectations around time, right? We know that there has been research, there has been studies on something called the planning fallacy, and that is our tendency to underestimate the time it will take to complete a task or to reach a goal, even if we have a similar lived experience in the past. So as that relates to weight loss, time and time again, women seem to think that this reaching their weight loss goal is going to go much faster than it does. Right? And I have talked before about, I call it diet math. To me, it's, 2 pounds a week. Everyone is basing their assumptions off of 2 pounds. At some point in our young adulthood, we assumed that 2 pounds a week was
there was some guideline that came out. Healthy weight loss, 1 to 2 pounds per week.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time like doing the diet math in my head. Like, okay, if I want to lose 50 pounds, if I want to lose 60 pounds, that's at 2 pounds a week, then it should only take me a half a year, or 6 months or a year, whatever the math worked out to be. And the truth is, it takes longer than you think. Not every week, not every month is going to be a downward trend on your scale, right?
You're going to have up weeks.
Yeah.
You are going to have up weeks. And that's because we aren't robots. We aren't mathematical equations. We are humans with real lives and real things going on. And I think what people can tolerate for fat loss trajectories, if you're living if your whole life is weight loss, okay, maybe you can fall into these guidelines. But if you're like Annie and I out here trying to live real lives, you're probably going to see it come in spurts and stalls.
Yeah. And my personal experience was I had dramatic changes to my body composition, which means I was maintaining or building muscle mass while losing fat. My scale did not change at all. And month after month, I visibly in the mirror, I could see my body was changing, but my scale weight did not change at all. And so again, just keeping reasonable expectations around how the scale moves, how fast the scale moves, because what I see happen is when women start to think about, okay, so you're telling me this is going to be a slower process than I anticipated. What happens is, again, talking about that mountain, it's like they're at the foot of this mountain, they're standing, they're looking up at the top, and they're thinking, crap, this is going to take me a really long time. And the overwhelm, the discouraging experience keeps them frozen at the bottom of that mountain, right? But the truth is the time is going to pass anyways.
Might as well be putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. So if you are struggling with how long it's going to take you to reach your goal, what would change if you just accepted, maybe even embraced the fact that it will be hard at times, it will take longer than you expected, and you just commit to putting one foot in front of the other?
Yeah.
Right? Go ahead.
Let it take how long it needs to take. And I also want to say that, we get these clients in and we have, not everybody comes into Balance 365 and has this amazing journey, leaves successful. We have people who leave early, who don't consider it a success. That's just full disclosure here. We don't have this 100% success rate. But and that's disappointing for us as coaches. But sometimes you can tell by somebody's mindset which way they're going to go. And I would say one of the biggest sort of red flags for me with people who I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know if this person's going to be successful, is they have a panic around time. That they need to get this weight off as fast as possible. And, and that's kind of the first mindset that I want to talk about, because I know if they can release some of that time pressure, they are way more likely to actually find success in the long run.
Yeah. And that word is so accurate. When you are obsessed with reaching it in a certain time frame, it does end up just feeling like pressure, and that pressure can feel suffocating.
Yeah, totally. And lead to self-sabotage behaviors, really. So, and so that's the thing where I'm, I like to think people don't join our program with the quick fix mindset because, we don't put that out there. That's what we do. But it does happen. And some people don't think they're in a quick fix mindset, but when when you get down to it, you start coaching it and you get to the heart of it, they really do have a lot of panic around time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the second category of expectations that we need to address is your expectations around weight. It can motivate some to have a general idea of what they would like to weigh. I would encourage women to stay open about being wrong about that number. And I say that for a few reasons. First of all, we know that women select weight loss goals or their like goal weight, their ideal weight based off of arbitrary events in their life, what they weighed in high school, what they weighed on their wedding day, what they weighed when they're pregnant. And for many reasons, that might not be realistic for you anymore. It might not be necessary to have the life experience that you want to have. Maybe you don't need to weigh what you weighed before you got pregnant. Like maybe that's not necessary. Or on the flip side, you might be interested, willing, and able to lose more than you originally thought. And I've shared this before in emails in our community. I never thought I would have the body that I have now. If I had picked a weight loss goal, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, I would have probably, quote unquote, undershot. I would have been
like chosen heavier than you are now.
Yeah. But once I developed the habits and the skills and the systems in my life, I was like, actually living at a lower than I anticipated body weight is really reasonable and sensible for me and very doable.
Yeah.
So sometimes those ideal body weights or those goal weights, it can help provide like a sense of direction that you want to go, but it can also become a limiting cage for you.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, and I had the opposite experience with Annie, where my fat loss goals were wildly unrealistic, where it's like you're never going to be able to live in a reasonable way at that lean of a body weight. And so my experience was completely different, where I had to let go of this really low number and see how continually trying to get there was hurting me big time. Because I didn't consider, unless I got there, everything was a failure unless I got there. I also want to bring up, I think I've talked about this member on the podcast before, but I remember this new member we had. She came in. I love her story so much. So first of all, although a lot of people don't have reasonable weight loss goals, some people do. And this person actually did. And the reason she had a reasonable weight loss goal is because she'd been there before. So I believe she was, I'll just use numbers, but she was 200 pounds and she was talking with me and reflecting on how she believed she needed to be 140 pounds for whatever reason. And as she was on that weight loss journey, she says she remembers reaching around 160 and like life felt really good. She was exercising, eating well, maintaining her life. Nothing felt really hard, but the weight loss wasn't good enough. And she kept pressing on. And that caused her to start spiraling into, chaotic thoughts, chaotic eating, and she ended up rebounding right back to where she started. So when she came into our program, she actually did have a reasonable weight loss goal, and she was saying she has to stop trying to press on to these ridiculously, for her, I'm not saying for everybody, ridiculous for her low body weights. And so I thought that was such an interesting story of what happens when we try to overshoot, and how a lot of women would honestly, I think, be better off with letting go of having a strict number that they need to be, and actually instead prioritizing their habits and their life and how they feel, maybe how they feel in clothes, over numbers on a scale. I also think, sometimes when we are sitting around in the world, people watching, and we, might see another woman who has a similar frame to us, and she maybe has a body composition that looks like that you would be happy with. Now, this is a very gray area, again, around unrealistic expectations, but you actually probably have no idea what she weighs. You just see that she probably feels comfortable in her body, and is maybe leaner than you and maybe has more muscle than you, but you don't know what she weighs. So it's like she could weigh a lot higher than you think she does.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's actually the I think what people are actually looking for here is a different body composition and just feeling more comfortable in their bodies. It's not really a weight.
Yeah, yeah. Now, with that being said, I would say most of our new members probably join Balance 365 with a, a goal weight or range in mind.
Yeah, and that's also a good point. Is having a range in mind is also very different than I have to be 185.5 pounds or I have failed, right?
Yeah,
A
yeah,
range is a little more, roughly 185 to 195 if I landed in there. Like that even shows me that someone has a little more realistic perspective of weight, period.
yeah. The other reason that I want to encourage women to maybe release the grip on their expectations around weight is because for many of us, myself included, it takes one to know one. You might not have lived at some of these weights as an adult in your life ever before. This is uncharted territory. You don't know what 220 pounds feels like as an adult human in 2024 or 200 or 180, like whatever it is. Like you don't know. And so because you don't know, it might be wise to just take it increment by increment and constantly, and not constantly, but periodically reflect. And in fact, I just, one of the members I have been working with, she is now treading into a weight range that she has not sustained in her adult life in a like a reasonable, moderate manner. She has achieved this weight through like severe restriction and intense exercise, but this is really uncharted territory for her to live at this weight without white knuckling it. And I asked her how much more weight are you looking to lose? Like what's the end goal here? And she said, I think I'd like just to continue on and periodically evaluate every 10 pounds or so and see where I am. And of course, as you said, prioritizing like, how do I feel in my body? Is this necessary? Like what do I get with that 10 more pounds? What changes for me? Nothing? Okay, maybe I'm okay where I'm at, right? But I know a lot of women have not lived at some of these lower body weights at all as an adult. And so just stay open to like, I really don't know. I know I want weight loss. How much? I'm not sure. That's good. That can be sufficient enough.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Yeah.
And then finally, expectations around the process. You're not always going to be motivated. I know the title of this podcast or this episode is how to stay motivated when you have a lot of weight to lose. The truth is you're not going to be motivated constantly. Like, I'm so sorry. If there was a way to just inject motivation
Juice.
Yes. Into everyone on a weight loss journey, I would do it. But you will make mistakes. You're going to have plateaus. You're going to have periods where you might gain, you might lose, and then stall out. The strategies that you use at month 1 might not be the same strategies at month 8, month 9, 1 year. That's normal. It is all okay. So when you go into it knowing it's going to take longer than I expect, I might be wrong about the end weight that I'm at, and it's going to be difficult. I'm going to have times of frustration, confusion, ups and downs. You're going into this whole experience with a much more realistic perspective.
Yeah.
So now that we're all on the same page, we can get into it.
Okay.
So first of all, I think getting the right kind of support is really important. I know it's cliche advice to say like, oh, you need support when you're tackling a big goal. You need people in your corner cheering you on. And yes, I agree. But what I think is really important is getting a helpful support system, right? And that probably looks different from person to person. Like, do you want someone checking in with you periodically and asking about your progress, whether that's a coach, your spouse, your partner, a friend? Is that what you want? Do you want someone calling you out when they see you maybe slipping off course? What does support look like for you when you are having a hard day? For a lot of our members, obviously, support includes coaching. They want someone that is objective, that is neutral, that is knowledgeable, that is reasonable, helping guide them on their wins, their troubleshooting, their their questions and providing solutions, right? Other people that might also include, well, it is helpful for my partner to ask about how I'm doing. Other women in our program are like, I don't want to talk to my partner about any of this.
Yeah.
So getting the right kind of support for you is really important. I'm a keep my circle small type of person. Mm-hmm. How about you?
I'm like, it depends on what the goal is. I'm quite private, and another point I want to say is like I don't value everybody's feedback about all of my goals. Mm-hmm. And neither should anyone listening. If you open up social media lately, there is many different philosophies out there around weight loss. And you need to get very clear on whose feedback that you value and whose you don't. Because if you're just trying to listen to everybody, it's going to feel like chaos. So if I had like body composition change goals, I don't value like my neighbor's feedback. I don't value, I'm not running around telling everybody about this because I have very high standards when it comes to body composition changes. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's pretty private because everyone's got a flip an opinion about weight loss, and I don't need to hear them all.
Yeah. I think the risk too, when you start to include people in your support system, is that it has the potential to feel like pressure.
Yeah, totally.
And if you have a hard day, you have a hard week, then you not only have the experience of like, well, gosh, I kind of really struggling this week. You also have the added pressure of I'm disappointing someone else, right? So being very clear again about what role does this person, this individual, or these people serve in my life? What kind of support do I want from them?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's actually one of the questions we ask our members. Like, what does support in this commitment look like for you? Mm-hmm. Like, do you want someone giving you that tough love? Do you want just some cheerleading and encouragement? We can do that. So the next one is, again, a cliche, but I've got to take a twist on it. Break down bigger goals into smaller goals. It's good advice, especially for people who feel overwhelmed when they think about, again, this mountain that they are trying to climb. Trying to climb it all in one day or 1 week or 1 month is too much. It's not doable. And when you think about trying to do that, again, it's common for people to just be like, oh my God, I can't, I shut down, I'm not even going to try. Instead, if we're thinking about climbing up a mountain, full disclosure, I've never climbed a mountain. I think you have, right?
I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you don't climb it all at once. You think about, okay, I'm going to make it to campsite number 1 or this part of the mountain first, and then number 2, and then number 3, and then number 4, right? So on a weight loss journey, that can look like, yes, breaking your bigger weight loss goal down into smaller goals like 5 pounds, 10 pounds, and setting those. But actually, this is my take on it. I didn't have a weight loss goal for the most of the time that I was losing weight. I stayed focused on the skills and the habits that I was developing and learning along the way and celebrating those. So it didn't look like I'm going to lose this 10 pounds and then that's like check mark number 1, that's campsite number 1. I did that, right? It was more like I'm going to focus on internal cues. I'm going to focus on getting adequate protein. I'm going to focus on, consistent lifting or progressive overload or whatever it is, right? And those were my kind of like my micro goals along the way. The result is obviously that I lost the weight in doing all of that. But I think that I guess it's kind of a 2-for-1, breaking it down into smaller goals or milestones, but then also staying focused on the process instead of the result.
The result. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. The next one is celebrating the wins, the scale wins, the non-scale wins, all of it. Again, if this were a mountain we're climbing, as great as it can be to keep your eye on the prize, it's also really important to occasionally pause and look around at the mountain and like,
check out the scenery, my friends.
Yeah. Yes. And even look behind you and say, look how far I've come. Like, oh my God.
Oh gosh. Yeah. That's also a big one. Yeah.
Isn't that so satisfying?
Yes, it is.
I haven't done a mountain, but I've done a few hikes where I'm like, oh my, we started there and now we're here. That is wild, right? but we get going so fast sometimes. We push past these wins. We resist recognizing, let alone celebrating them. I mean, how many times have I heard, yeah, I should have already done this by now though. I can't believe I got so off path. This doesn't feel like something I should be celebrating. Yeah, but I have all these other things that I suck at. I have all this other ways to go. I need to focus on that instead. Or yeah, but like look how much more weight I still have to lose, right? Like I as a coach, I often feel like I'm celebrating for the member, and the member is like arguing with me. Like why they don't want to celebrate it. But this isn't just feel good fluff. Stopping to celebrate your progress and these milestones along the way helps build motivation. It helps build a sense of progress. It helps provide proof that you can, in fact, do these things. You can change. You can get results. So there is a lot of science and reasoning behind why it's important to celebrate these wins.
And pride, right? So I think people having these successful weight loss journeys, I find that they're full of pride for how they're changing and who they're becoming.
Yeah, because it's proof of like your commitment to the goal.
Yeah, totally.
Which feels good. Like you should celebrate those things. Again, now this might come back to getting the right support. Maybe you don't want to celebrate that with everyone. You don't have to put, your weight loss or the skills that you've developed on your Facebook page or your Instagram, whatever. But maybe you share it with your coach, a close friend, your partner, or whatnot. Or even just yourself too. Okay, this is not going to come as a surprise to people who have been around a while, but the other piece of advice I would give is stay connected to your why. We firmly believe that you can enjoy life in all body shapes and sizes at all weights, but most of our members join Balance 365 because their health and their weight are getting in the way of them living like a fulfilling, joyful life. They're not able to participate in life the way they want to. They're skipping social outings. They're not taking the trip. They're not wearing the shorts. They're not going on the date. They're not climbing the mountain or taking the hike.
They're not doing the hike.
Yeah. They recognize that the trajectory that they are on is now with their current behaviors is potentially jeopardizing their health and well-being down the road.
Yeah.
So they are invested in changing their behaviors for reasons way beyond a dress size or a scale weight. They fully believe that these changes are really influential into their future, and doing what they can now will help preserve a future that is important to them, right? So again, taking it back to expectations about the process, when you are on a weight loss journey with a lot of weight to lose, especially one that takes months and months and months, you can anticipate distractions and temptations popping up along the way. You might even find yourself indulging in those distractions from time to time. It's totally normal. It's okay when you find yourself being kind of like lured off course. Just reconnecting to your why can be a really valuable exercise. And I would encourage you to think about when we take this out of weight loss and we think about any other long-term goal that you have accomplished that took months and months, maybe even years to accomplish, we can see how all of these principles and concepts are so applicable. Think about like going to college or additional schooling, growing a baby or raising a baby, maybe building a business, advancing in your careers, saving for a big purchase, training for a competition, growing a garden, knitting, writing a book. All of these things take time. Right? All of these things probably you have connected to how it serves your life in a bigger, more helpful way. And you've endured impatience, you've endured distractions, you've endured mistakes. I'm sure no one has raised a child perfectly, right? But they've stuck with it. Excuse me. No one wrote a book without some revisions and
totally lots of editing and
yeah. So this is so normal, and any other long-term goal, all of these things are really normal. But when it comes to ourselves and weight loss, we can get really distracted. We can get really like tempted to just cut corners and
new and shiny, like little quick fix things pop up that totally distract us and end up hurting us.
Yeah. So again, just staying connected to why it's important that you achieve this goal in a sustainable, reasonable way, right? You probably have tried alternate methods, right? And you're here for some reason, okay? So my last and final one, this might surprise people, is practicing emotional regulation. This is one of those tidbits that I didn't really learn until I had to learn it, or it wasn't even on my radar until it was a skill that I needed. But at the heart, what's really required for achieving a big weight loss goal is patience. And given the advancement in technology with social media, I mean, Amazon Prime, I can have just about anything delivered to my doorstep within 24 hours, it seems. Like our collective patience is not, it's not getting better.
Impatient. We're getting our instant gratification urges, needs, desires are getting worse.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So again, acceptance that this is a long process, celebrating your process along the way, and reframing your perspective can to why this is important can all be helpful. But in the end, it's going to come down to being patient. And being patient is hard. But so is feeling impatient, feeling frustrated, feeling discouraged. These are not comfortable emotions either. So as uncomfortable as trying to stay patient is, being impatient is also an uncomfortable experience too.
Totally.
And it can be so tempting in those moments of frustration, impatience, discouragement to make rash decisions, like quitting, returning to dieting, or just giving up altogether. But the bottom line is people who are successful with long-term goals are oftentimes the same people who can recognize these emotions when they pop up to the surface, and they can manage them in a helpful way. They refuse to make reactive, emotionally heated decisions. They make decisions from a calm, grounded headspace after some contemplation and reflection.
Yeah.
So it's not this hot potato that they're like, I'm frustrated, I didn't lose this week, I quit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that was it. I feel like I just talked a ton at you.
That was fantastic. I was just sitting back here listening. Felt like I was listening to a sermon. Thanks. Thanks, Annie.
You are so welcome. Really, just again, a quick recap is manage your expectations around time, how long it's going to take, around the process, and around your weight, getting the right kind of support for you. This is really individual, breaking down your big goal into smaller goals, not just weight necessarily. It doesn't have to just be 5 pounds, 10 pounds. It can be skill-based or process-based. Celebrating your wins, scale and non-scale victory, connecting to your why, and then practicing emotional regulation along the way. Staying patient.
Staying patient. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. Anything else to add?
Nope. You nailed it.
Okay. Well, if you have a big weight loss goal and you want support in your corner, the right kind of support for you includes coaching, get in our program. We'd love to help you. We've got lots of members who have done this, are doing this, are actively pursuing big weight loss goals, and we'd love for you to be a part of our community.
We would.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.